Hi everybody, you're watching the Magic Box Talk Show on
the
Magic Box Radio Show YouTube channel. Woo! Okay, cut the applause. We're very happy to have our special guest today is Keith McHenry. And Keith, your claim to fame is that you're one of the founders of Food Not Bombs.
Yep, that's.
People are like, "What's Food Not Bombs?" Not everybody. If you're in a particular milieu, it's quite famous.
Right. Well, Food Not Bombs started in Boston in 1980, and what it was, what we did at the beginning, and which is similar to this day, is we were collecting food that couldn't be sold from natural food stores, the farmers market, bakeries. We'd take that food, we would first, in the middle of the day, deliver it to housing projects and battered women's shelters, and then in the evening we would go out to Harvard Square or the Boston Commons, and we would set up a literature table. We'd have all this vegan food that we'd been making during the day, and we'd hand it out. We'd do puppet shows, things like that, during these daily meals. And then we'd do it all again the next day. But then the other thing we did was we would take food out to protests, like in the Boston Commons, but also down to New York City, the Pentagon, Washington, D.C. at the Capitol, stuff like that. And so that's what the first little group did from 1980 to 1988. And then I moved to San Francisco in 1988, started a second group, and it was because of the second group being arrested initially on August 15th, 1988, that Food Not Bombs started to grow, and now it's in over 1,000 cities in the world. So in
that Food Not Bombs group in San Francisco, there was a lot of arrests. Wasn't it hundreds of arrests?
Yeah, it was over 1,000 arrests.
Over that, wow.
Yeah, it was 94 arrests in August and September of '88.
But then the end result was that Food Not Bombs chapters popped up all over the place.
Correct.
Let that be a lesson to you all.
Yeah, don't arrest people or it will bounce
It'll
back.
just make the whole thing bigger. Yeah, right.
And it's a funny thing because I got some documents recently from Mark, who is the attorney for Sacramento Food Not Bombs. And they were told they couldn't share food anymore on October 5th. And 15 cops came out, told them they're going to take all their equipment if they didn't leave immediately. So the Food Not Bombs moved across the street and then put out the word this had happened and organized a big rally for the following week. All these people, like 100 extra people, showed up. And the police were like, you could see in the internal memos, they're going, the Food Not Bombs are very sophisticated. We have to watch out about these people.
With their buckets and their produce.
Yeah.
They're a very sophisticated group. Yeah.
And so we have to be careful. So what they did was they brought out, they just came out with these flyers about how to cook food safely. And it turned out behind the scenes there had been a state meeting of the California Association of Environmental Health Inspectors, and they're figuring out a strategy of how we can get Food Not Bombs to meet with us, and then we'll make these laws about how you need a stainless steel kitchen and you need $100,000 and all this stuff, and this should slow Food Not Bombs down a little bit if we can first string out the negotiations and the planning of the health inspection system, and then make the rules so hard that no one will ever be able to do it, and that should be the excuse for busting Food Not Bombs in California. And apparently that was happening all over America at the same time.
So there's been a pattern with Food Not Bombs that at different points in time and in different cities, there's a big crackdown.
Right.
I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Like, giving food to people? Stop that, right?
Right.
And I find that really perplexing, and I'm wondering, with your experience with all this, what do you think it is about Food Not Bombs, about the act of sharing food freely with people that just makes certain politicians go completely apeshit?
Well, it's actually the impression that the government is giving is that it makes like local politicians are upset because it's making homelessness visible in their town, and they're trying to gentrify the town and get rid of all the poor. So that's kind of generally the official public story. But the reality is it's actually a coordination by the federal government. And initially, think tanks, we think it's ran, Rand Corporation that was involved in this, but we're not sure. But some think tanks came up with the idea that since we started the second group in San Francisco, that meant it was a worrying trend, that instead of it being isolated in Boston, it was going to potentially get bigger. And so the people that were most concerned were the military contractors. And there was this concern that the public would see all the people standing in line to get food. They'd see the banner, Food Not Bombs. There'd be flyers there. And that because we'd already, in Boston, refused to take Social Security numbers from all the people coming to eat so it could be deducted from their welfare checks, they knew we would just have these principles, and that we would just feed when we wanted to. We'd provide meals when we thought it was important, and that we would